History of Islam in the UK has not been extensively documented, so many of it has been forgotten or overlooked. One such example is of Lady Evelyn Cobbold Zainab Cobbold, who is considered to be the first British Muslim woman to have travelled for Hajj to the holy sites of Mecca and Medina. She is reported to have documented her travels in her book Pilgrimage to Mecca. It is important that her contribution to Islam in the UK is not forgotten. Lady Evelyn Cobbold was a Scottish noblewoman and convert to Islam. Born in Edinburgh in 1867, she was the eldest daughter of Charles Adolphus Murray, 7th Earl of Dunmore, and Lady Gertrude Coke, daughter of the 2nd Earl of Leicester. Her birth into British aristocracy makes her conversion and travels as a Muslim all the more extraordinary. Lady Evelyn spent most of her childhood in a Moorish villa perched on a hill outside Algiers. She learned to speak Arabic, and her favorite pastime was to escape her governess and visit the mosques with her Algerian friends. A few years later, while staying in Rome, she had the opportunity to visit the Pope. She recounts in the introduction of Pilgrimage to Mecca that when His Holiness suddenly addressed me, asking if I was a Catholic, I was taken aback for a moment and then replied that I was a Muslim. A match was lit, and I then and there determined to read up and study the faith. The more I read and the more I studied, the more convinced I became that Islam was the most practical religion. Since then I have never wavered in my belief that there is but one God. Indeed, this belief in the oneness of God never left her. And like many Westerners, Lady Evelyn was deeply touched by Islamic spirituality, the inner side of faith. 2 years before her marriage to John Cobbold in Cairo, she wrote a poem in which she evoked the fundamental principle of Tawhid, belief in one God, in a prayer to Him, the One, the essence of all, and His presence within and around. Lady Evelyn Cobbold was also known as Sayyidah Zainab, her Muslim name, and wrote an honest and sincere account of her pilgrimage to Mecca. She was excited to be the first British woman on record to have made her pilgrimage, but that gave way to a deeper emotion as she prayed in the Haram, the holy mosque in Mecca. Lady Evelyn was able to see and describe the way women lived in Mecca and Medina, something no writer had ever done before her. Lady Evelyn's conversion to Islam did not go well with her in-laws and worsened after the death of her husband. However, she hung on to her faith until the very end. She writes, "When I look into my journal I shall live it all again. Time cannot rob me of the memories that I treasure in my heart. The countless pilgrims who passed me with shining eyes of faith, the wonder and glory of the Haram of Mecca, the great pilgrimage through the desert and the hills to Arafat, and above all the abiding sense of joy and fulfillment that possesses the soul." Lady Evelyn spent the last 20 years of her life quasi-secluded on her estate at Glencairn, and then in a nursing home in Inverness. Yet it is obvious that, despite the fact she had lost touch with other Muslims, she must have insisted on many occasions that her written instructions for her Muslim funeral be followed.